Hey there, this is Dilly, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at some of the popular rumors for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64 in a series that I am calling Playground Rumors. These were the kind of rumors that some kid on your playground when you're in like 3rd grade would run up and tell you about, or that your older brother would spout off trying to trick all of the gullible kids, or maybe you just found them on the internet on some sort of fan site or forum or something like that. If you're a bit older or younger than me, then the games that you heard about were probably different, but chances are that there was some kid named Billy that came up to you and tried to convince you that he knew a secret about a video game that you were into that only he knew about. I remember hearing about how to unlock Mew in Pokemon Red or Blue, how to unlock Luigi in Super Mario 64, how to revive Aeris in Final Fantasy VII or keep her from dying, and then of course all of these Zelda rumors that I'm going to go over today. Before emulation or hacks or anything like that, it was really hard to fact check any of the stories that you would hear on the internet or from your friends. Considering the Easter eggs and secrets that were being found all the time in games, it's really easy to believe how someone could fall for one of these rumored methods of how to unlock something in one of their favorite games. It also seems that the process of game development wasn't as well known as it is now, and people just assumed that because they created something and they worked hard to make this asset, that it would be included in the final product, even if it was, hidden away for only the most dedicated of players to find. They assumed that people wouldn't just get rid of it. In the case of Ocarina of Time, many of the rumors about it had early beta screenshots that showed some version of it to fuel the fire. I initially went in just wanting to explore and document some sources of people spreading these rumors online, and by sources I don't mean that I'm going to come find Billy from 3rd grade to explain it, but I just wanted to find examples of people spreading these rumors online in an attempt to get other people to believe it and try that method. I kind of ended up diving off the deep end into what the Zelda fandom was like 20 years ago, and digging through a bunch of old Angelfire websites and fan sites and old forums and using the Wayback Machine a bunch, and I honestly just went on a journey into the past, a link to the past if you will, and I found some pretty interesting stuff, so let's get on with it. First up is the Sword Beam or the Blade Beam. The Sword Beam is a staple feature in all of the previous Legend of Zelda titles before Ocarina of Time, which allows Link to shoot a beam of light to damage opponents when he was at full health. Early screenshots of the game showed Link using the Blade Beam, and so naturally players assumed that it still had to be in the final game in some way, right? You wouldn't just make a whole Blade Beam move and then remove it, but it did not end up in the final game. Rumored methods of obtaining the Sword Beam were usually linked with the Unicorn Fountain, which is another piece of cut content that I'll cover in a bit, and you'll see this a lot, but the rumors were usually linked like this. You would have one rumor that linked into another one, and it's all over the place with these. They're all interconnected. There's no way to obtain the Sword Beam in Ocarina of Time, but the YouTube channel Hard for Games has a video showing off a mod that adds the Sword Beam back into the game. It replaces the spin attack move and has custom animations to show Link using the special attack. The Sword Beam was also implemented into an Ocarina of Time ROM hack called The Missing Link, and it's necessary for the puzzles in the fan game. This version fires with each attack while Link has full health, just like in the previous games. So it's pretty cool to see those in the game in some form, even if it never turned out to be true that it was in the original game. Next up we have the Unicorn Fountain. This is a location that was supposed to appear in the unreleased Ura Zelda for the Nintendo 64 DD, a planned expansion that used a disk drive to expand the N64's capabilities. Rumor had it that this special fountain was supposed to be where Link learns the Sword Beam move, or possibly where you could find the Triforce itself. Cut content discovered recently proves that it was featured in a beta build of the game, but was removed from the release build and later versions. The most commonly spread rumor was that the entrance was supposed to be located beneath the waterfall in Zora's Domain as Adult Link, or possibly in a cavern near this pillar that is too deep beneath the water for Child Link to reach, and normally inaccessible to Adult Link due to the water being frozen. This cave can be accessed by hacking the game or utilizing a glitch to get under the ice, but there's no secret room down there. This could mean that this little cave was either intended to be a hidden entrance designed to only be seen while using the Lens of Truth, or just a last-minute removal. Either way, there's no unicorn fountain underneath the ice in Zora's domain. Another popular rumor was about how to beat the Running Man. This was a guy that you would find near the Gerudo Valley as an adult that would challenge you to a race. So after you accept his challenge, you would run from Gerudo Valley to Kokiri Bridge, right at the entrance of Kokiri Forest, but he would always beat you by 1 second, no matter what, no matter how fast you went. Of course, many players assumed that there was a way to beat it. Like, why would they put in a challenge that you can't beat? Why give you an impossible task? There had to be a way to beat it. People began to ask online about how to beat the Running Man, and of course there were people happy to oblige and make up some rumored method of how to beat it, and just eventually waste the person's time, just because they could. The most popular method of beating the Running Man involved accepting the challenge as an adult, going back in time to when you were a kid, waiting at Kokiri Bridge for 1 real-life week with the console on, and then you would all of a sudden turn into an adult, and you would be there waiting for the Running Man, and you beat him, just by being there already. There was actually a hoax put up on YouTube of somebody beating the Running Man supposedly using this method, but it was just some clever video editing. Some of the other rumors regarding this were obtaining a set of golden spurs for Epona, your horse, so she would run faster, or just general stuff like getting all 100 gold Skulltulas and then you can beat the Running Man, or stuff like that. Once data mining was more commonplace, it was easier to dig through the text files and confirm the fact that there was no victory message for winning him, so he's unbeatable. Some of the most prevailing rumors about Ocarina of Time have to do with complete hidden dungeons that Link could complete and receive some sort of reward. The most common of these two were either the Sky Temple or the Temple of Light. We know that there was initially going to be a Wind Temple that eventually turned into the Forest Temple. We know this because in Ganon's Tower late in the game, the area that represents the Forest Temple is actually a bunch of wind puzzles, and Ganon's Tower was actually completed very early on into development due to the fact that it was originally going to be a hub world for Ocarina of Time, in the same way that Peach's Castle was a hub world for Super Mario 64. So that wind portion was completed first before they went on to do any sort of wind temple, and they eventually turned it into a forest temple. But before that was common knowledge, people saw all the wind stuff and assumed that that meant there was going to be some sort of sky temple, like up in the sky. These rumored methods were usually linked with the unicorn fountain as well, just like with the sword beam. There were also other rumors about a hidden temple of light. So the Temple of Light is an actual area in the game. It's where Link wakes up after pulling out the Master Sword for the first time and meets Rauru, and you see it a couple other times every time you beat a dungeon and a sage wakes up there. People assume that since there was a temple associated with every single other medallion, that there was a secret way to get into the Temple of Light somehow, and at the end of it you would get the Triforce. One of the most famous Ocarina of Time hoaxes was about learning a secret hidden song called the Overture of Sages, which would transport you to the Temple of Light, and you would get the Triforce at the end of it. Finally, we have the big daddy rumor of them all, obtaining the Triforce in-game. Link, of course, obtains the Triforce of Courage after entering the Sacred Realm, but players were convinced that Link would be able to get the full Triforce and presumably make a wish or obtain some sort of extra hidden skill or magic spell or something like that. This is the rumor that all of the other Ocarina of Time rumors kind of fall into, like a black hole. Like, you'll hear about you need to beat the Running Man so that you can unlock the Unicorn Fountain, which will get you the Sword Beam, which will let you into the Temple of Light where you get the Triforce at the end of it. There's like 1,000 variations of this kind of how to get the Triforce. Some of them are crazy and ridiculous, some of them are slightly more believable. It's all over the place. It's actually been really fun going into all of these old like Angelfire Sites and finding all of these old Zelda rumors that just get crazier and crazier as you go on. They start from things like blowing up all of the gossip stones in Hyrule to needing to shoot Ganondorf in the head 25 times with light arrows. There's just insane ones like you need to kill Zelda and the king with the big Goron sword, and then it will unlock a maze with a purple cow at the end of it that you need to use the golden gauntlets to lift up, and the Triforce is behind that. There was another one that just involved farts. You name your character Plorkus or something, and you get a special farting power, and you can just fart all the bosses away, and you fart away Princess Zelda, and it's listed right alongside all of these other like supposedly semi-serious or like it's supposed to be convincing rumors, but you just get all of that lumped in together. The Overture of Sages rumor that I talked about was actually a really big event in the Zelda community at the time, back in the late 90s to early 2000s, and it had a lot of people actually convinced. Someone known as Ariana Almandoz emailed the webmaster of a fan site known as Hyrule, the Land of Zelda, with screenshots of herself learning the Overture of Sages and getting to the Temple of Light. These were pretty convincing screenshots at the time, especially this one that was taken from a camera showing the TV the game was playing on. Now we know that this is a pretty simple edit to make, or that you could hook up your TV to a PC, but especially in 1999, this was not very common at all. At the end of the email exchange outlined on the website, Ariana admits that it was all a hoax and started bashing on anyone who had believed the fake screenshots, but this one instance had sparked quite a bit of interest in the fandom. There's a lot more behind this story of Ariana Almandoz and the hoax, and in my digging I've actually uncovered something that I actually haven't seen any other articles on the subject cover, but more on that later. That's going to be its own video. And that's about it. I had a lot of fun digging into these old websites from back in the late 90s, early 2000s, some of which I had visited before, some of which I had never heard of before. I also ended up finding the remnants of some of these communities that stemmed from these old fan sites, and they just exist now as a Discord server, but they're still together and hanging out 20 years later. There's something really interesting to me about, people going online and spreading these rumors, and where these rumors actually came from, like whether there was one source for them or if it was just like a common enough wonder that multiple different Billies came up with the same rumor. I remember specifically with this game trying out a lot of these methods and just honestly wasting time, messing around with this game and trying to accomplish some impossible task that some 12-year-old from Nebraska made up. But still had a good time while doing it. If you enjoyed this blast from the past, please give a like and a subscribe to see more content like this. I've got more on this subject that I want to delve into that couldn't fit in this one video, and I've got other similar videos that I want to do, but for now, thank you and have a great day.